Hello and welcome to the Car Care channel, and welcome back to our 600,000 mile Lexus Restoration Project. And today marks a very special episode. This is the final mechanical repair episode. After that, we move on to the cosmetics. In today's video, we're gonna tackle the last oil leak that we have, the oil pan. However, there has been a change of plans and some investigating that I've been doing. Let's lift the car up, let's talk about today's plan, and we'll get right to work. So let's start this episode by talking about the last episode. Remember at the end I told you there was an exhaust leak, and we might have slowly fixed it. And because there was a little incident with the exhaust. It was actually not an incident, I kind of left that for you guys to guess. But when we pulled the exhaust out, I noticed that this very pipe had rust behind it, and when we moved it, it actually broke in. And here's a little clip of that so you can see it. So that was, I guess, already there. We just, by moving it, got it disturbed. That was now our exhaust leak. There is very few things in the world that make me just park a car and not drive it. One of those things is exhaust leaks. So apologies for you not seeing how we replaced this very nice second catalytic converter pipe, because I just simply could not drive this car with a leaky exhaust. I guess that's where I earned the name, the Car Care Nut. So yes, we replaced this little pipe. That's taken care of. Car is extremely quiet with two new cats. I am very happy. But now let's talk about the change of plans. So after much research, and I tried every single bridge support on top to see if we can do this, we cannot. The upper oil pan. So in order to replace the upper oil pan, thank you very much to the one German engineer on the LS430 team, you have to pull the engine out of the car. There's simply no other way that is safe. You can do it unsafely, but we're not going to do that here. So you can pull the lower oil pan, but you can't pull the upper. So what I started doing is I cleaned everything up, and I really wanted to see where the oil was originating from, the leak. And we discovered that the upper oil pan is actually not leaking. That was all just oil being blown off by the lower oil pan. And there's a little oil level sensor on the side that is leaking as well. So here's what we're going to do in this episode. We're going to replace this oil pan, because actually the drain plug is a little starting to strip, so I don't want to take chances. We're going to have it out anyways, might as well just put a new one. And then we're also going to replace that sensor, that oil level sensor that goes on the side. And while we're here, we're going to replace the engine mounts. This is the last two mounts left, the rear transmission mount. We replaced it last episode. That is a lot easier said than done, so let's get right into it. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to replace this side mount, because this mount really we're not doing anything with it. It's just a straight replacement. But in order to do that, I have to lift the engine from the oil pan, drop the subframe a little bit, then you can get that mount out. Then we're going to do the same on this mount. But while I have this mount out and the engine supported from here and the subframe a little bit down, I'm going to actually swap that sensor, because that sensor is long and you cannot really get it out with the mount in the way. You see how this is like layered up? So the first thing we're going to do here is take the nuts that hold the motor mount to the subframe. Then we're going to use a jack stand here, or a screw jack, basically a jack stand for lifts, to lift the engine a little bit. I'm hitting the subframe here. I'm just gonna go sideways. That's fine. We have liftoff. So now the engine is just hanging in the air. This is the safest place to lift it, and that's why this oil pan is very tricky to replace, because you have no other place to do this. So now that we got this far, I'm not going to remove the subframe. I'm just going to loosen it. Oh, we got some water out of here. Let me see what's holding the subframe. I think it's down. That's all you need. You just need it a little bit down. That should do it. It's hanging on the rack, but do you see that water that came out? Probably gonna end up taking this bolt. It's draining. Was it this one or this one? It was this one. There's a little bit of water sitting on it. That's okay. Now that we got this far, this is again the German engineer on this team that designed the LS continues with his fine work. Let me remove the mount, which for all intents and purposes, it is 4 14mm bolts and 1 ground. Let me get this out and I'll show you the fine German engineering on this beautiful LS. So let's remove the ground first. Then we're going to try our luck with the 14s. Highly doubt these are going to come off easily, but who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. See, I told you. Let's bring the real impact. Another one, very tricky to get to. There it is. Now, it's just a matter of squeezing it out of there. Just have to do a little dance. And we're gonna have to drop the subframe a little bit more, I think. Let's see if I can finagle this out of here. No, you're gonna have to drop the subframe a little bit more. I lifted the engine a little higher. Let's see if that gives us enough space to get it. No. Well, that bolt is out. It's the Bluetooth subframe now. Lower it down. That's a lot lower than it was. All right, let's see. Yes, here it is. Let's talk about German land. So here's the reason why I said this is perhaps the one German engineer. Because this is how this mount sits. Like, this is where it bolts down, this is where the bolts we took, and then the subframe is here. Well, a lot of cars will have access to the top nut, so you lift the engine a little bit, take that top nut, take the bottom nut, and get the mount out. This one, the nut is on the inside, and that is a place where you cannot access in the car because the block is here and there's no way. So you have to remove the whole thing with the bracket. Not the best idea in the planet, but that's what they decided to do. So just remove that. See how nice it is when this is gone. And then there's always this mess. There's this. This is not part of the mount, this little insulator. And then this little metal piece is also not part of the mount. There we go. There's the mount. Now, this mount, it is impossible. I actually think this is the 600,000 mile mount, unless it's been replaced by original, because this is definitely an original part. It has severe dry rot at the top, and even though this engine was pretty smooth, occasionally you'll feel this. It's not separated though. I've seen aftermarket ones break in half, so that's pretty cool. But let's compare it to the new one, and that's we'll know if it's collapsed down or not. I'm gonna stand them side by side. So looking at this can be tricky, because if you're looking here, they're the same, but look at the top. This is where the engine sits. This one is actually collapsed. This one is standing. Yes, this might drop a little bit when you put weight on it, but not as much as this one. It'll drop a little bit. So this definitely was worn, but it's not like broken in half or completely sheared or gone. So there's that one. Then there is the fun of putting this one back. And they don't really give you a way to do this. And the way I found to do this is this. So you manually persuade it to go. And then, I don't know what this does, and it doesn't look like it does anything other than aggravate the mechanic that installs it. So let's keep fighting. There it goes. That's it. And then this insulator, although it has a rip, I actually didn't order these. This doesn't do much. It just sits there and insulates. I don't know what exactly it insulates. Actually, it does absolutely nothing. But here's this back, and then the German nut back. That's it. Let's go install this mount, and then we'll move on to the next stuff we got. Okay, so let's. So every time I do one of these mounts, I always forget the way it goes. This one is the easy side, by the way. The driver's side is a lot harder. This one, actually, because we have the subframe so down, and I spoke too soon. See? That's what happens when you speak too soon. No. There it is. Never speak too soon. Don't celebrate until you can actually celebrate. Now, the very last bolt in the ground. We'll do the ground after we bolt it down. My hand's already there. Let's put the ground so you wouldn't feel bad. Mr. Ground, we didn't leave you out. You gotta play nice. It is not playing nice. There we go. All right. Tighten these. Last but not least, Z ground. Okay. Now we move on to the other side, which we're going to have to remove that mount. Same way, except we have something in the way. And then hopefully we get that sensor out. Let's do that. So I got to drain the oil, because once we remove that mount, I want to pull that sensor. So in order to do that, we got to actually snug our subframe back up. Lower the engine. So this oil now has probably 300 miles, up to 300 miles. So it's not going to look pretty. This drain plug is done. I'm putting a new one once we get to that. Oh my God. This does not feel very happy. You know, what is concerning a little bit about this is this has a reddish tint to it. You know, I say in the light, but I don't know. Well, I guess this is the engine flush. So I'm going to wait for this oil to drain. And then we're going to do an oil change while we're here. 'Cause I'm going to pull the oil filter housing as well. Change that one gasket. But yeah, it does have a reddish tint. I see it from here. And that's really concerning. Did they try to clean this engine and put transmission fluid that we're not able to get out? That's a mystery that we're going to find out at some point. And there's really no way to get transmission fluid in the oil. You can get it in the coolant from the radiator, but not in the engine. So let's wait for this drain, and then we'll go on the second mount and the rest of this stuff. That's good enough. This pan is coming down anyways. It'll make a mess no matter what you do. So just plug in. There's something of a bucket list item for me that I want to do. I've never ran a drain plug with an impact. Since we're replacing this oil pan, let me get that off my bucket list. Doesn't feel good. I don't like it. Good thing we're replacing the pan. So now that we got that, we're gonna basically redo the same thing and lift the engine up from the pan. That's good. Drop the subframe again. So we're going to start by removing this. You see this shaft is in the way, and that's what's going to make it extremely difficult. But we'll get it. I get this AF sensor connector out of the way, if I can. There it goes. There it is. Now somebody zip tied. Oh, well, I guess somebody zip tie just broke. It's okay. Oh wow, this zip tie is just literally crumpling. This has been here for a while. So now that we got this harness out of the way, it's pretty much the same thing as the other side, except you have the shaft in your way, which makes it a little bit more difficult, and also the dipstick is in your way. Let's see if we can get this. That last bolt, I'm going to get it from the side. There's that. On this side, we don't have a ground. So we have the shaft in our way. Steering shaft. Let's get come on. Can do this. There it is. We once more praise our German engineer, because this one is going to be very difficult to remove. So I'm going to have to drop the subframe again more. Move the bolts. Loosen the other side a little bit more. Does this give us enough space? It does not. This subframe, if I'm not mistaken, it's not moving. I think it is seized on. Are you seized on? Let's see. Yes, it is seized on. Now it's off. Much better. Sitting on that? Yes, it is. So now I got stuck in that position. Yes. It's much better. Okay, let's start the struggle. And the struggle is going to get very, very real. almost there. So you know what? I may not. I was thinking of removing the 17 nut from the back, but it looks like that's not going to happen. I'm going to unplug our very oily sensor here. See if that gives us a little bit more room. Harness out of the way, and I have a lot of movement now. There it is. Now I just knocked the light off. Let me replace this real quick. We'll keep going. So before we install the mount, let's replace this little level sensor that is leaking right here. I thought about just replacing the gasket, but we got carried away a little bit. Why not? Let's just put a new one. Let's just hope we have enough space to pull it out. That's the main concern. Well, we have 4 bolts. Oh, this is welded on here, and there's all kinds of goodies around it. See if I can pop it out. Oh, this doesn't look good. I have to admit that this doesn't feel or look good. There's so much stuff, junk around it. Clean it up a little bit. I'm not liking this, but I'm gonna push on. Let's see if we can just break it loose. There it is. Okay. He was just messing with us. It just felt like a rock. It was like welded on. So see, the piece of the gasket stayed there. So get out. Although, I'm not going to worry about it. We're removing the pan. What are we doing? And actually, it came out. All right, here it is. 600,000 mile sensor with the gasket completely disintegrated. I mean, look at this thing. Here is the gasket that was holding it. Yeah, this is definitely leaking. And does it work? It actually still works. So basically, this is a float. Oil pushes it up, oil pushes it down, and that's it. Well, let's do some cleaning around here, and then we'll replace it with a new one. Let's install our new sensor, which has to do this little dance. There we go. I'm using the same bolts. I did clean them up a little bit. Okay, well, that's installed. Give it a little wipe. We already got it dirty. Probably should change my gloves here. Now let's put our mount back, and then we'll start the problem that is the oil pan. You'll see why that is in a bit. Now let's get the mount back in, which is easier said than done. progress. Big progress. Now. Oh no. Yes. Almost. Definitely making progress here. Just gotta see what we're doing. Where are we stuck on now? Uh-huh. Harness. Which now needs to go back in its place. Something is not letting this mount go up. What is that something? Sitting on the drive shaft here. See that? How about the other side? Aha, here we are. Dipstick. I need to turn it. There it is. I think we're almost there. There it is. Think it's in? No. Yes. No. Maybe. Yes. We're good. Let's start a few bolts. Remember when I said yes, maybe? Now I'm going to upgrade that to maybe not. Because there's the harness for the O2 sensor. I don't see it, and I need to see it. Ah, here you are. Okay, so I think, well, that doesn't route there. Let's get it out of the way here. There we go. Third time's the charm. I have to make a small announcement. I can't see anything where I'm doing. So this bolt is lined up. It's doing something. Yeah, it started. And then put the side bolt, just line it up in place. This is what I call progress. The good kind of progress. I already got a bolt there. Do I? No. Last bolt. Okay, let's snug them down and we're good to go. Mount is in. Now it's just a matter of, there's something missing here. One day I will find out what it is that makes this harness sit a little better. This wire have seen better days. Don't break on us now. Okay, didn't break. Good. So this should have a better, I'm going to investigate this, but for now we're going to let it sit here. I feel like there's a bracket or something missing around here because this doesn't just sit here. I don't like routing it by the exhaust. I'm going to kind of hide it behind the mount for now till I figure out what's missing here. There's definitely something missing. Okay, I can live with that. All right, well, this is done. So now we start the elephant in the room, which is the oil pan. Let's do that. So here is the plan. The only way to support the engine up is from the oil pan. So right now the engine's up, subframe is down. I'm gonna get all the bolts for the oil pan out because I can't get them with the engine sitting on the subframe. Then we're gonna put our subframe back up, lower the engine on it, break the seal of the oil pan, and then I'm gonna do something that I really don't like to do, but we're gonna have to in this case to give us a little bit more room to pull the oil pan out, which is lift the engine from the transmission. You should be very careful doing this and find a really strong area. Good thing this transmission is not a flimsy one, so you can actually do that, at least just enough to me. Get the oil pan out and then rest it back on the subframe, and then when we put it back in, we'll do the same thing. So without further ado, let us start this extremely sketchy part of this video. Pull all these bolts out. Normally oil pan bolts, they don't give us trouble, but again, somebody's been here before, so let's hope we don't have surprises here. The kind of surprises that make us pull the engine out. I think we got them all. Let's double check. This is just an oily mess of an oil pan. Yep, we got them all. Oh, you guys are gonna love this. This looks horrendous. So now I will put the subframe back up, which has now slid back, and I can't get it back, of course. Okay, one thing at a time. Let's get the subframe in position first. No, that's a bad idea. That's also a bad idea. Man, the subframe is like stuck on. It does not want to move. And I wonder if the reason for that is the engine sitting on it somewhere? No. I think I'm going to have to lift it up a little bit to get it to move. All right, let's try this one more time. Okay, it's going. It's almost there. Let's see if I can pull it. Now it doesn't even want to move. Why are you binding? There it is. Did it go in? Because it has an alignment pin here. I want to see if we can get that alignment pin to go. No, we're going in the wrong direction now. There it is. There it is. Now it's aligned and good. We have liftoff. $1,000,000 question is our motor mount lined up? No, it's not. Of course it's not. Which means I might have to bring the subframe down a little bit. Oh, it's almost there. Almost tempted to just pry it a little bit. Loose. That's good. Let's lower it down. Okay, let's tighten the subframe. Lower it down. Good? Yes. This engine now is sitting on its own weight. I hope that makes sense. It's getting a little late here. So now, I actually forgot something. Should have left one bolt so this oil pan wouldn't come barreling down. I'm going to leave this bolt. I suppose the subframe will hold the front. We're just going to pop the seal, even though it's leaking everywhere. Believe it or not, you still have a little bit of holding. Yeah, it's a matter of... Oh, it's going, and I already forgot a bolt. Wonderful. Told you it's getting late. This bolt is off. It's going. It is going. I've hoped it pops by now, which tells me one thing. The sealer they used is one of those super gooey sealer, because it is not popping at all. There it goes. It's going. It's just giving me a fight. There we go. That's the pop I'm waiting for. Let me make sure this other side also popped. Front is outside. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's ready to go. Now come the extremely sketchy part that I really dislike, which is lifting the transmission from here, lifting the engine from the transmission. This is very dangerous, and we have to do this relatively quickly. So here goes nothing. Okay, here is the part I really dislike. I'm gonna lift this the minimum amount as possible. Let me get my bolts. Okay, let's do this. Still stuck on. There it goes. Now we're stuck on the pickup tube. There we go. It's out. Let me put this pan to the side. We're gonna look inside of it. And then, before we do anything else, I'm gonna drop this engine down so I can breathe again. Okay, now we are secure. We can talk and look, check out the inside of the 600,000 mile engine from the bottom. And before we do anything else, let's look at the pan. Did you know that when you drain the pan on your Toyota or Lexus, this much oil remains inside? That's just the way it is. But this pan, this 600,000 mile engine, I'm going to drain the oil slowly. Oh, I hope you can see this very clearly. There is all kinds of floaties. Some of them are actually metallic. Like I see all this is glitter, sludge. I'm going to try to keep as much of it as possible in the pan. There's some old cedar, metal chunks. Folks, if this concerns you, it does not to me. I mean, this is an engine with 600,000 miles. I will be out of my mind if I expect this engine to just run forever. There's no such thing. At some point, this engine will go, start knocking and whatnot, because things are just wearing down. I mean, I see a chunk of metal right here. Is it metallic? No, it is not. And then there's all this sludge. There's some sealer. There's more sludge here. I mean, this pan has been down at some point, unless they literally did not clean it or it's been down a long, long time ago. This is a lot of stuff. So now you have seen the inside of a belly of a 600,000 mile engine. Pretty impressive though. Still runs pretty good. It's very quiet, has plenty of power. So the oil pickup tube is full of debris, as you can see here. So I'm gonna attempt to get most of it, and you guys will see it. It's all cedar, old cedar, more cedar. There's a lot. I feel like a dentist right now, picking up cavities. This is 600,000 miles worth of cavities. Fortunately, I would have loved to pull this out, but it is way into the upper oil pan, and we don't want to open that can of worms because that's not happening. This is all the cedar that this car has accumulated over the multiple repairs it has had in 600,000 miles. I got most of it out, but I have one piece that I want to get out, which is in the very front. I'm going to be able to get it. No, I won't be able to. It's so wedged in there, and I think, oh yeah, right here. I got it. It moved. There it is. Now, let's see if I can get this one out. This is rock hard cedar. Feel it. It's getting really hard to get the tiny little pieces out. There it is. The more I dig in this, the more I find. It's like a treasure chest. This is not a piece of cedar. Actually, a piece of metal. Another piece of cedar. Problem is, it's such old cedar. It's been dunked in oil for so long that every time I pick on one, it just disintegrates into a million pieces. So this is another piece of metal. All right. I'm gonna ring around the rosy one time to see if we got anything. Yeah. Over here. Well, that is 100 times better. For good measure, I'm going to give it a little bit of cleaner. Should there be anything left, it'll fall off. We're good. Okay, I think that is good. I'm happy with that. I give everything a really good clean first. Look one more time. Oh, there's a piece here waiting for me. That is a lot of stuff in here. Yeah, I think we got everything. Anything else? Nothing is. Here's that new sensor we just installed. I am not gonna go too much on the cleaning, and I'm already cleaning as I say that. That's the best part. You know what? There's this baffle here. I think I can remove it and clean on top of it, because I guarantee you there's all kinds of sludge that's sitting on top of it. And we'll give it a good clean, and then we'll continue this. We'll start cleaning this old cedar, which is, just judging by how it feels, I think this has been here for a while. So let me remove this baffle, clean it, give it a good clean, and that's as far as it will go, because you can't just spend 600,000 miles of making this engine dirty and then spend 3 days cleaning it. It's kind of counterproductive. Well, at least say we tried. How about that? Now, the real question is, am I going to be able to get this baffle out? Let's find out. Yeah, it's out. No, actually, you know what? This does not look bad at all. I hope you can see that well on camera. This does not have a lot of sludge on it. So I think we're good. We're going to give it a good wipe. Boom, we'll reinstall it. Okay, so I got a little bit carried away. It's looking much better. And Jose got you guys some nice shots of inside this engine so you guys can see it. Now it's just a matter of putting this baffle back. Cleaned it up a little bit. Did get carried away. We said we were not going to go crazy, but we did. That's okay. And this is the rare time that I say that's okay in a good way. So the next thing we're going to do here after this baffle goes back on is clean the sealer. I'm going to rehearse our pan this time, not like the transmission pan. And then we'll get it sealed up and we'll call it a day, because it's getting really late here. And I don't think we're going to have enough time to let the pan dry and run it. Get them all? Yes, I did. All right. Sealer cleaning time. Once more, never use power tools on aluminum. In case you haven't caught it in previous videos. Razor blade, then red Scotch-Brite does the trick. I'm going to mute the audio for this section because some people get offended by the sound of this scraping. So you guys will see a little mini time lapse, then we'll come back. A hint about cleaning sealer. Folks, in my now near 20 years of working on cars, I have only had 2 sealer jobs fail, and I'll just flatly admit that. One of them, I missed a spot of oil, and one of them, the part that I was putting the oil pan on, actually it was an oil pan, the upper oil pan had a crack. And the reason for that, not because I do something special or anything. Patience is what makes these sealers work or not work. There's something very important for you to know about sealer, and specifically FIPG, or Toyota technicians love to call it FIPage. It's form in place gasket. It is possibly one of the best sealers you will ever see, but prep is key. Spend 90% of your time on the prep, 5% of your time double checking your prep, and then 5% applying it and installing. This sealer works the best if you prep properly. Any oil or any smear of oil, it won't seal. Any old debris of old sealer, it won't seal. Because as soon as brake cleaner or any type of oil cleaner hits it, it starts dissolving. If you leave any pieces in there, it's actually gonna, that compromised piece will be where you're sealing on, and now you have no seal. Yes, some of them will work, and then after a month or 2, they'll seep through. That's just how the sealer works. Folks, a lot of people say, I don't like sealers, they leak. Why don't we just use gaskets? Actually, gaskets are horrible, especially in a place like this. Valve covers, different, they work okay. But this, you do need a sealer. And the best thing about the sealer is it not only it doesn't dry up, it doesn't become a rock, it always stays malleable, but the best part is it adheres to both surfaces, and that's what makes it stick. This is the important thing. The other second thing that I see, this mistake, I see it over and over and over, something about mechanics and patience, or thereof the lack of. Mechanics don't have patience. This job is very taxing on your mind, on your body, on your patience. You have stuff dripping on you, and there's pressure of management and this and that. And that's what I enjoy the most about owning my own shop, is that I don't pressure anybody. We take our time till the job is done. If the customer is in a hurry, well, it's going to take as long as it's going to take to get the car to the level that we're happy with it. So you use power tools to save time. Okay, I don't want to do what I'm doing right here, which takes forever, by the way. It's very aggravating. But you want to use power tools. Well, here's what power tools is going to do on aluminum. It's going to create a very fine powder that is very difficult to clean, and it's going to end up inside the engine, and we don't want that. The second thing is that power tool is actually not going to leave a flat surface. It's going to create divots in that surface. And those divots, if you have enough of them and the sealer doesn't get in them, you just created a channel that's going to leak right through. The best way I found through experience is razor blade to get the big pieces, red Scotch-Brite pad to remove any last remaining pieces, or if you can kind of smooth the surface where you don't have any channels that oil can leak through, and I've never had issues with it. So there you have it. Cleanliness, prep is very important for this to work and work well for a very long time. So here is the new oil pan. We're going to rehearse it to see if we're going to be smearing everywhere or not. And I don't think so, just by the way this went. Yeah, I think we got this. Let's put some sealer here and we'll get this going. Brand new sealer from Toyota. Here's that part number. Something about this sealer, and that's why I'm opening a new box so you guys can see it. Take the cap, open it up. This has ribs on it. 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter. You read in the repair manual, they'll tell you what size bead you need. You can actually cut this tube accordingly. That's why I save the old tips when you do something like 1 millimeter. It's rare. This is more of a 2. So we're going to go ahead and apply the sealer. On oil pans, you can go liberal. Just don't overdo it. Don't double layer it. Just kind of go around. When you seal stuff, any bolt that goes on the outside, you go behind it. I hope that makes sense. And you see how I'm going on the inside of the bolt holes, because these are external bolts. You want to seal the oil from going to them. If it's an internal bolt, you do it the other way around. We only have 15 minutes. We're going to go and give it the last cleanup, and then we're ready to install this. So we're going to give this a last clean before we install it. This is very important because this thing will keep dribbling and dribbling and dribbling, and you won't be able to stop it. So you're going to clean right away. And then install your pan. Lined up here. There we go. It's in. Install a couple bolts. And then we'll get the rest of them. Alright, let's install the rest of the bolts. There's one bolt in the corner. I'm going to have to start it by hand. It's going to finish strip with impact. access to it. No, I don't have good access to this one. We'll get it in a bit. Let's get the rest of them. And these two, I do not have good access to them. I think it went well. Oh no, it's good. There's that one. The very last one. Well, that's it. Make sure we did not miss anything. That's it. I'm going to lower the engine now to its final lowering. Well, how about that? We got this done. This was, for lack of a better word, very sketchy. I really dislike lifting the engine by the transmission. This puts a lot of load on the components, but we were able to get it done quickly, and it's in. We only have one thing missing, the drain plug. This is a new one on a new oil pan. It goes very nicely. There we go, the new gaskets. This is just looking proper to me right now. Let's finish everything else and we'll talk about the future plans of this car. Now we're gonna put, I had to loosen this rack to move it so we can get access to clean the oil pan. That's in. And then the very, very last thing that we left the best for last. Let's install the motor mount nuts. There it is. It's official, folks. This car is leak-free. And the one thing I was intending to do, and I kind of canceled last minute, was... Sorry, I just gotta keep cleaning here. This looks so beautiful now. Was the oil filter housing. It's not leaking. I don't see a single drop of leak. I initially thought it was, but it was the oil pan blowing oil all over the place. Not gonna do it. I don't wanna open more cans of worms because we already have some brackets missing in the back for that O2 sensor wire and whatnot. But what we are gonna do is drain this oil filter, because now we have an official oil change. Oil filter probably has now, getting up to 4,000 miles, something like that. This oil still looks red. And by the way, when I took the baffle, I saw a lot of chunks of something red. I wonder if that's an additive, because that might be the case. That additive is just sitting down. By the way, I don't like oil additives. Don't use oil additives. Do your oil change on time. You're gonna have better results. Oil additives, 90% of the time, they don't really work very well. So just heads up, let me get a new filter. We'll call this job done. Original D3 Toyota filter. Many of you have commented on previous videos that why do I not oil my O-rings for oil filters? Folks, these come pre-greased. They actually have grease on them, not oil, from the factory. They have a little plastic bag on them. You take that out and it has grease already, so that's why I don't. That's in. Quick wipe. And this is a wrap right here. So there you have it, folks. We are done with mechanical repairs. And as soon as I said that, something else broke in the back of this car. That's just how it works with cars with this miles. So some of you have mentioned in the comments that the pinion seal was leaking out of the rear differential when we initially looked at the car. Yes, that is the case. However, I'm noticing that it's not leaking anymore. Like, I don't see any wetness. I don't see anything. It's just dried up old oil. So I'm gonna clean it up at some point and we'll see. I don't want to open that differential. this seal is a little bit more involved than usual. Ideally, you'd want to set the pinion and change the bearing and do all that. And we don't want to go in there for a leak that might not even be there. The transmission is no longer leaking, and that was the biggest leak in this car, really. It is, now we put a few hundred miles on it. It's dry. I like it. And with the exhaust that I couldn't wait to share with you, it's even quieter. I think that an older exhaust, it was leaking to begin with. Just when we removed the exhaust, disturbed it enough where it opened up and now it's loud. But I'm super happy with this car. I wish we would have been able to pull the upper pan, but we are against time. Folks, the shop is full of cars, and this is a real shop. I can't just tie up a rack with this car, pulling the engine out and doing all this. I have to attend to customer cars, so that is what's stopping us sometimes from working on this car. But what is not going to be stopping us from working on this car is what's going to happen in the next episode. There's going to be a little bit of a break here because we got to wait at least 2 weeks for filming this video to start filming the next one. The next one will be, I guarantee, it will be the craziest detail video you will ever see. Usually, car detailers are not mechanics. Mechanics are not car detailers. But the collaboration of the two is going to be something you will see. Myself will be the mechanic. Jason from Chicago Auto Pros will be the detailer. I will tear this car completely apart on the inside. I mean, everything. Not just the carpet and the seats, the dash, the headliner, everything. We're gonna gut this car on the inside. I want it cleaned inside and out. I don't really clean very well. I don't know how that stuff works. I just wipe oil with a rag. That's how mechanics do with the cleaning, but we'll leave it to the pros. But we are gonna collaborate. We're actually doing the video, take the whole interior apart ourselves, and then they will have at it and do what they do best, because Jason is an awesome guy. Guys, if you don't know who Chicago Auto Pros is, check out their channel. I'll leave the link in the description. They're awesome. They're joining us in this project, and I think it's going to turn into something fabulous, because I can't stand that interior. It's not clean. Let's put it this way. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in for the series, which continues. We're going to take a small break for a few weeks, and we'll be back. And it is now oil leak free. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.